China has denied human rights abuses against its Muslim minority Uyghur people in a bizarre and frequently fiery event at its embassy in Canberra. Let's take a look at how China sought to downplay diplomatic concerns through a highly staged propaganda presentation.
The press conference had an official title: Xinjiang is a wonderful land.
A land of thriving vitality.
Via Zoom, 6 local residents insisted the other story told, that is the persecution of Uyghur Muslims, is not true.
These allegations cannot be more preposterous, and they are downright lies.
Despite photographic and eyewitness evidence, the Chinese government says mass incarceration of Uyghurs is a lie. But the Xinjiang Vice-Chancellor would not say how many are in prison.
The so-called 1 million is their belief in some fabrications of certain people.
While there weren't a lot of straightforward answers today, the fact this event was held shows the Chinese government knows it's under pressure, or at least the perception of its treatment of Muslim Uyghurs. The US government is talking about boycotting next year's Winter Olympics. It could expect Australia, one of its allies, to do the same. So perhaps there was an olive branch of sorts for relations between China and Australia.
We would like to see a sound and stable development of this relationship.
But it was short-lived, with this warning for any country looking at sanctions over human rights.
We will not provoke, but if we are provoked, we will respond in kind.
The ambassador bristling at suggestions that China, notorious for hiding the truth, is doing so now.
Chinese government has been shown to hide the truth over something as basic as air pollution in Beijing. Can you understand why people think the Chinese government would also hide the truth over something as important as persecution of Uyghur Muslims?
Your question is provocative, and it seemed as I don't know how did you base your question on what facts? I don't know how you got this as allegations. You made this allegation on what basis?
Tom Connell, Sky News, Canberra.
Joining me live for more on this, Associate Professor Michael Clarke from the Australian National University. Thanks very much for your time. So it was this bizarre situation. We had, as I said, local residents purportedly from Xinjiang saying everything's fine, including even an imam saying there's total freedom of religion, when we know we've seen the satellite images of mosques having been destroyed, and those other ones earlier, thousands of people blindfolded, head shaven. This was hardly just normal rule of law as was claimed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the press conference was certainly an interesting spectacle on a number of levels. I mean, the first thing I think to note is that this is part of a wider disinformation or propaganda offensive, if you will, on behalf of the authorities in Beijing around the Xinjiang issue and around the re-education of Uyghurs and other Turkic ethnic minorities in the region. It's really interesting and consistent, in fact, with a number of other efforts that have been made since 2018 by Beijing on this propaganda front, where you have the trotting out of supposedly very positive narratives about what the Chinese Communist Party is doing in Xinjiang, whether it's around issues of the party bringing economic development, which was certainly part of the sort of brief documentary, the Xinjiang is a Wonderful Land documentary that you referred to in your report. But also important is the notion that this has got to do with counter-terrorism, but also education and secularisation of Xinjiang's ethnic minorities.